Hey there, fellow nerds and geeks. Aaron Nabus here, and we have a special episode of the Hall H Show in store for you. As you know, our mission is to put the mainstream spotlight that Hall H has been known for back on the pop culture and comic book artists, writers, and other creatives. On this episode, my co-host Alex Benedicto and I are joined by Ashley Victoria Robinson and Jason Inman. Both are successful in their own careers, but have now joined forces to create a comic book called Jupiter Jet. We've had small interactions with them in the past on social media, and when they were launching their Kickstarter campaign for the comic book, they contacted us to be on the show, and we are so glad that they did. They were both full of positive energy and beamed with pride about their first comic book together, and hopefully the first of many to come. Please enjoy our conversation with Ashley and Jason, the creators of Jupiter Jet. Artists, assemble. All right, everybody, welcome to the Hall H Show. I'm Aaron Nabus and my co-host Alex Benedicto. We are in Encino at a Jerry's Deli eating lunch, so please forgive any side noise or noise you hear in the background, but it's worth it because we are with two people that they're about to do something really awesome. I was going to introduce them, but I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I am Ashley Victoria Robinson. I am the head editor at Top Cow Comics, where you might have seen some stuff written by me. You may also know me from the Geek History Lesson podcast or the Retro Diaries web series. And I'm here with...
I'm Jason Inman. I am the co-host of DC All Access, and we're not at a Jerry's Deli. This is actually my kitchen. Please enjoy the ambiance.
Now, coming up here, and when you guys, first approached us, which, thank you very much for getting in touch with us.
Thanks for being game to come hang out with us.
And we're here to talk about your comic book, Jupiter Jet.
F yeah.
And
wait, it's an all ages comic book. Stop that.
It is.
And here I thought we were going to help you reach your goal, but you guys already freaking reached it already.
Okay, to be fair, we also thought that we were going to need all the help we could get. We're extremely, extremely lucky. So real quick, Jupiter Jet is an idea that I had, and I was actually having, I think it was lunch with Jason, not dissimilar to what we're doing right now. And
in a diner.
And I said, hey, I have an idea for a comic book, but all I have is a name, and it's Jupiter Jet, and what do you think about? And that was like the genesis for this entire story that we have right now.
Mm-hmm. And people maybe be like, well, you're talking about your Kickstarter, and it's already funded. I'm not going to listen anymore. Keep listening, because Kickstarters can always need all the help they can get. There's stretch rewards, and there's always more things. And in fact, like right now, we're pushing hard for another stretch reward where we're going to add 4 pages of backup material to the book drawn by a guy who has worked at DC Comic Books. So
dun, 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 but we're not going to reveal who it is.
We're not going to reveal who it is until we get the stretch goal. So,
and it's all because I pledged before the interview today.
That's right.
Correct.
That's right. You pushed us over the edge, man.
I guess before we get into the book, I just want to let the audience to get to know you a little bit better. Maybe you can tell us about your background. How does a person from a guy from Kansas meet a girl from Canada? In LA of all places.
Oh man, the stars align in a really specific way, and you don't slip on the piece of ice in your homeland and crack your head open, so you make it to Los Angeles. I moved to LA in 2010 to go to drama school in Hollywood, and then I stayed because I got a work visa. And my very first job in Los Angeles was at a comic book store in North Hollywood called Blast Off.
Oh.
And I was working there on Free Comic Book Day, and that's actually where I met Jason, and a friend of his introduced us, and then we became friends, and then we became married, and now we make comic books together.
Yep.
It's just that easy, folks.
And I moved from Kansas in 2010 as well.
Not the same time, not together.
Not together, yeah. And I just packed up my car and drove out here just to try to get a job and see what happened, because I knew that I wanted to come out here and create and make things.
So we really recommend that people just upend their lives and move to Los Angeles. It works out.
It's a good idea.
I guess so. I guess I better move over here too.
There you go.
You're not that far away.
I guess I guess we can delve into the book. You said you had the initial inception at a diner. And watching your Kickstarter video about the book, it was pretty cool. I was wondering if you could maybe reenact a little bit about the conversation that you guys had.
Okay, so I said, Jason, I have this idea for a comic book, but it's just the name. It's Jupiter Jet. What do you think about that?
And then she's going to have a jetpack, and she's going to have a little brother named Chuck, and then she's going to face this guy named Pluto who's got a ray gun, and maybe he has glowing eyes, and then maybe her dad is dead, and then we can find out that they are stealing from the mob, and then oh man, we got to write this.
Yeah, and this is about the time where I was like, okay, remember all that. We'll write it down on my phone, and then we'll make a Google Doc, and we'll do it later. So that's kind of like how the inception
That's pretty close to
happened.
exactly how it happened.
And the great thing about that is everything that Jason just said is what is mostly the first issue.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff, some of it changed a little bit, was massaged a little bit of it to be slightly more clever. But that's what launched this entire story. And then we're about a year and a half later, just a little less than that. Here we are actually going to be making this comic.
Yeah, the comic book's going to happen now. And it's, I don't know, it's just this idea of combining hardcore sci-fi with a period piece of 1935. So it's slam the Rocketeer into the Men in Black franchise. That's the closest, not hardcore sci-fi, but the seems like the real world, but there's little tinges of sci-fi, in it.
I think there's a lot of Easter eggs in each issue where people are
hardcore.
If you're looking for them, you might be able to suss out the mystery.
The best thing, because we've kind of teased this on the Kickstarter. There's a twist. There's a big twist in issue 5. Because the first miniseries is 5 issues, and in issue 5 there's a big twist, and we have purposely we put a lot of Easter eggs in there that when you get to issue 5, you'll be like, oh, now I figure it out. We hope it's not one of these things where people are like, oh, well, screw this book now. We hope it's really oh, they've been teasing it. In a perfect world, I hope everybody figures it out by issue 3. And then so when they see it in issue 5, they're like, oh yeah, I knew that was coming. Cool.
I think if you figure it out by issue 1, either the reader's a lot smarter or we're a lot dumber than we thought.
I think there are enough clues in issue 1 that if you really looked at it and you really thought about every single line of dialogue, you can figure it out. But you have to be pretty smart.
If you're me and you're reading it, you won't figure it out until it happens anyway.
Yeah. so issue 1's already in the can, right?
Yes, issue 1 is completely drawn, completely colored, completely lettered.
That was really important to us because we are basically raising the funds. If people don't know the way independent comics work, if you're not writing for the big 2, you have to pay for everything up front. Jason and I are not taking a page rate on this, so we are just looking to raise the money to pay our artists, our colorists, and our letterer a living wage because it just takes a lot more hours in the day to be able to do all those things.
Yeah, our artist does about a page a day. So if you think about it, we basically have to pay him to make Jupiter Jet his full-time job.
But we thought it was really important to kind of put as much of our own money up as possible. So we funded the entire first issue. And then that way we have a lot of cool stuff that we can show people in the Kickstarter besides just character concepts.
Yeah. We wanted to be able to, kind of a proof of concept, because that's one of the things about Kickstarter as well is you see somebody put up an idea for a web series or whatever, and if they have never made a web series or did anything like that, you're just like, well, what proof do I have that you can actually pull this off? And at least with us completing the first issue, we have plenty of art to show, we have pages to show, and then also I really wanted to show our backers to be like, oh, here's a new page you haven't seen, here's a new page you haven't seen,
Yeah, so if you're a backer, you're going to see a lot of exclusive panels that nobody else is going to see in the little updates, so that's another reason why you should go and be a backer.
I guess this would be a good opportunity to talk about your creative team that's working alongside with you.
We have a really amazing creative team.
First off is Ben Matsuya, who's our artist, and he is a guy who drew a piece of fan art of me when I was working at Screen Junkies. He drew a piece of fan art of me. I thought it looked so cool, and then I immediately contacted back, was like, do you draw comics? And
if you want to draw comics, have sequential samples ready.
Yeah, and so he sent me to his website. He did, and we hired him because of that. So
he actually lives an hour away in Orange County.
He lives in Orange County, yeah.
Which was really cool. So we could hop on the phone, and then we could have we met him in person as we were starting this process. So it's a really small world sometimes too, comics.
Yes. So just to show you that if you contact the right person at the right time, you could get a gig out of it and be making whatever you want to make. It's really cool. And then our letterer is Taylor Esposito, who is probably the most famous person in the book, actually.
He's got really amazing credits.
He's lettered stuff. He's currently the letterer for Red Hood and the Outlaws, and he's lettered New 52 features in. He's lettered so many comic books. It's unbelievable. There's a lot of big DC books, and we've worked with him on a couple other projects. And he makes our stuff and word balloons look really good. And then who's our colorist again?
Mara Jane, and we got her through. I deal directly with Mara, so that's why.
No, I was doing it as a joke. I know who she is.
So we got her through Taylor because Ben colored our original 5 pages and our character sketches that we kind of used to shop it around. And even though he's a great colorist, he doesn't like it, so we try to respect that. And we were like, great, we'll hire a colorist, we'll bring someone else on. And she was actually recommended to us by Taylor, so also be nice to the people that you work with, and they might help get you a gig someday.
Yeah, it's all about who you know. It's like that's like this whole comic book has like sort of become this like ultimate collaboration, because if you go to our Kickstarter and you look at the main image of Jackie Jupiter Jet on top of the Kickstarter banner, that was actually the very first picture of Jupiter Jet
very first
ever.
Concept art.
Like, we sent Ben a paragraph where we were like, she's 16-year-old, she wears a jacket, that's her father, she has this, she has goggles, she has a flying aviator cap, and then he sent back that picture, and you're just like, oh my god, like, holy cow, there it is.
And I love getting concept art. It's like better than getting panels to me, because it's the first time you get to see stuff come to life. It's so exciting.
Well, let's go into the characters. Let's talk about the characters and maybe touch on the plot and the story a little bit.
Well, you should talk about Jackie, the lead.
Okay, so Jackie is a 16-year-old girl, and she lives in the neighborhood of Olympic Heights. And her father recently passed away, so she is now the head of her family with her little brother, and they run a repair shop. And she has a Jupiter jetpack. I don't know why I said that. I'm so embarrassed. She has a jetpack that is powered by a mysterious power source. And so, of course, she robs from the rich, gives to the poor, and punches bad guys with ray guns and laser eyes.
But the perfect thing about Jackie is that she's like everybody at 16. She thinks she knows exactly how the world works, and it's exactly like this. And
you can see that in the first 2 pages of the story.
Exactly. Yeah. If you go look at our Kickstarter preview pages, like the opening of issue 1 is that she's telling Chuck about like, oh, I just did this thing and I went to the blimp and I took from the mob, and her little brother's like, are you sure that's how it happened? And then you're going to get the reveal that you twist, and we see how it actually happened. And she wasn't as smooth as how she thinks it is. Like the way she imagines is that she's saying all these great catchphrases to the mob and being like, ah, and then like you see that she basically stumbled her way around, and the only reason she won was because of pure luck.
But she still won, and that's what's important.
Yes.
And it's like any superhero origin. You're going to get to see her really come into her own and discover her powers that are greater than they were ever before.
And we'll give you, here, Hall H Podcast, we'll give you an exclusive. She's going to end this book with a brand new costume.
Dun, dun, dun. Which we have cool concept art for.
Yep.
And then her little brother is, his name is Chuck Johnson, and he is like everybody's... like
Charles.
Yes. He is like the smartest mechanic designer kid you could ever have. And
He's a wonder kid.
He's a wonder kid, and he's like a snotty kid brother. He's actually one of my favorite characters. He's the best one-liner.
Well, he's the character that we can have the most fun with because he's a 46-year-old in a 10-year-old's body, or he likes to think he's 46. So he's always spouting off these things. He's the ultimate smartass, and he's spouting off these things to adults all the time. But he's actually a kid because, you know, you look at him, he gets afraid very easy, but at the same time, he can build these machines. He was the one that figured out how to make the jetpack work. Like, it was all because of him. But then at the same time, you look at him and you're like, oh, but then he has a cat named Puddles.
Yeah.
So
the cat might actually be my favorite character.
Yeah.
And they face off against a couple different mobsters. We meet one of them in the preview pages, Bruno Bramante. And he works for our big bad, whose name is Pluto.
Yes, Pluto is the main antagonist of Jupiter Jet. And basically the two kids on one of their heists find this mysterious object. And the book is mainly about Pluto hunting them down because they have it. So it's the idea that they stumbled into this world that they had no part of having a foot in, basically. Yeah. And Pluto's going to make sure he can do whatever he can to make sure that they never ever live. I don't know.
Along with a collection of henchmen, some of whom may be human and some of whom may not be human.
Yeah.
Are these characters based on anybody in particular in reality?
Well, I like to say that Jackie is Ashley at I like to say that Jackie is Ashley at 16, but a more confident version of Ashley at 16.
She's like a happier version than I was at 16.
Yeah.
I think of Chuck too as being like the little brother I wish I had. Like he's a total smartass, but he really loves his big sister, and because they're the only family that they have like immediate family, we do see their uncle in the first issue. You really get to see like how much they love each other and how much they care about each other.
Yeah, we worked really hard at like trying to like make sure that you could tell that they were brother and sister. So there's a lot of times and a lot of scenes that they're like constantly like teasing each other because kids like you love them, you love your brother, you love your sister, but at the same time you hate them.
And you want to smash their face.
You want to smack them. It's interesting. The rest of the characters are just like kind of archetypes that we came up with ourselves.
Although Chuck's best friend is named Neil,
yes,
who may or may not be named after a very important scientist named Neil.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
So that was like a little Easter egg that we wanted to throw in.
Yeah,
I love Neil.
He's a nice little Easter egg, and the ultimate idea of Jupiter Jet is that we'd love to do 5 volumes, like so there'd be 5 miniseries. So this is volume 1
with really cool art on the spine, so it'll look great on the shelf.
Yeah, and if and if we get to do volume 2, like Neil becomes a bigger part. Neil right now in volume 1 is a supporting character. If we get to do volume 2, Neil becomes a regular cast member.
So if you read it and you like Neil, go buy all the
but the rest of the characters are just archetypes, we kind of character ideas that we came up with. Funny thing though is that we were thinking about this now. We put on the spot. You're
gonna blow my mind.
Their uncle. They have an uncle called Gabriel, who is still around because their father is passed and stuff like that, and their mother is passed / mysteriously missing. And I would say that I'm very much Gabriel.
I would say that's
their
accurate.
uncle. Yeah,
he even kind of looks like you without a beard.
There you go. It has right there.
So there you go. But it's weird. It's weird to be asked that because I don't feel like when we were writing, we were specifically like, oh, let's base this on so and so.
You do it subconsciously.
When you step away from it, you're like, oh, like we named this person. Like Bruno Bramante is named after a friend of ours, Chris Bramante. But it's like a great last name, so we had to use that.
It's funny as an aside. Before part of the podcast, we were talking, and Jason was telling us about this incident where I guess it was at San Diego Comic-Con. Someone was calling him DC Man.
DC guy.
So DC guy. So I was thinking maybe that guy, the character that's sort of like Jason, can have the initials DC.
That's funny.
That's funny. Put him in a DC T-shirt and don't tell anyone and because they'll come after us for licensing.
In your Kickstarter video, you make reference to characters and stories that you read now and what you would have enjoyed when you were younger. Mm-hmm. Can you sort of recount what those kind of stories would be or are today?
So it is Jupiter Jets obviously stars a female character because I felt like when I was growing up, there weren't a lot of super heroic females outside of Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman, when I grew up, didn't have her own show. Batman and Superman had shows. She's in Justice League, but she's a supporting character. So unless you went directly to comics or stuff that was really branded for females, there wasn't a lot of that. So like we wanted this to be a female-led book, but that's not branded as, and there's nothing wrong with this, cutesy pink princess, like something that could be given to everyone, because I think that that's something that is very much in everyone's mind now that wasn't when I was a kid. So like I wanted her to be someone that I would have wanted to read because like I loved Batgirl, I loved Wonder Woman, but there wasn't as much around in the 90s as it is right now.
I mean, I took a lot of cues from this. One of my favorite comic book series of the 90s was when DC was publishing Batman Adventures and Superman Adventures, and they were the tie-ins into the animated shows at the time.
I love those.
Yeah, they're great. And the thing about it is that you can go back and read them right now, and they all hold up. Interestingly enough, Mark Miller, a guy who wrote the Ultimate Superman Red Sun, that's where he got his start at DC.
Yeah.
He started writing Superman Adventures. And so, like, those titles would be considered like a kid's comic book. But as an adult, I can read them, and I'm like, oh, this is just a solid Superman adventure. This is just a solid Batman comic book. They just happen to be like one and done. There's no ongoing threats around it, but like none of it's being written down. And that's kind of the thing. Like that's another thing we wanted to like hint towards with Jupiter Jet was to be like, we kind of want to be like the Batman Adventures and the Superman Adventures, where like it is a book you could give to a 5-year-old, but it's also a book you could give to a 45-year-old, and they both would have the same experience.
And we do take from those comics too. We take a lot of our notes on how we want to structure like pages and panels, because they do such minimal word balloons and minimal panels, but you know everything that you need.
Yes.
You know, this isn't the kind of book where we need 15 panels and word balloons.
Yeah.
So what is your sort of typical day like in terms of like trying to combine this, obviously a passion project for you guys, and your other projects that you're working on?
Well, I'm going to flat out say there is no such thing as a typical day.
Yeah.
My schedule is different every single day.
So that's the weird thing about working, I guess, in and around the entertainment industry in Los Angeles. Like, I have a certain amount of days that I go into the office. I have a certain amount of days that I go from home. But, like, a lot of stuff comes up, and you have to say yes to it, or you really want to say yes to it. And then, I mean, a lot of times we're working until, like, midnight or later.
Yeah.
So it's usually like, you know, get up, go to work, do the work stuff, come home. Maybe there's a shoot somewhere in there or podcast recording, and then work on this until whatever o'clock. I mean, yesterday we got up and had a meeting to plan out the second issue. It was the first thing that we did.
Yeah.
For like an hour.
Yeah, it's all about, there is no typical day. It's all about like setting goals and setting deadlines and just being like, hey, by this time we've got to do this thing or whatever.
And it's hard to hold yourself to your own deadlines when you have
no one to
else.
be accountable. Yeah.
But it's important to do that, or else you'll never get anything done.
Yeah. It's a tough, for like a freelancer like myself. Yeah, there is no such thing as a typical day, but it's just like, you know, everything that has to be done, and you just have to constantly remind yourself to be like, oh yeah, we need to work on the next thing for the Kickstarter. We need to work on the next thing for the issue. Oh, we need to record a new podcast. It's that type of things. Just, it's always about never letting the train stop, you know. And I also, for me, I guess I find that like I have the giant to-do list, and almost every day I never complete it.
It's like a revolving. Well, okay, I was supposed to do this today, but I probably do it tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
If I send this email in a couple days, like no one's gonna catch on fire, so
yeah, for
I'll
me,
do the thing that's gonna catch on fire.
Yeah, for me, it's always the thing of like I think of like a train, and there's like 10 cars in the train, and as long as I do 6 cars on the train, then I consider that a good day.
Yeah,
you know. But if I do like 3 cars in the train, then like, oh, that was a terrible day.
Right.
You know,
but right
because
now,
the train never ends.
Right now, it's a lot of Jupiter Jet.
Yeah.
Like that's, you know, certain projects take priorities at different times, and that's now been bumped up considerably.
So, I mean, like me and Alex, we use like Google Docs and Google Drive to keep organized. I mean, what do you guys use to stay organized and keep on track with your goals?
Google Docs is a big thing.
We write every Jupiter Jet anything in Google Docs. So.
Because it's great because we can share it. So even if, like, the way we break up writing the issues is different every time. I usually write the first drafts just to get everything on the page, and then Jason will come in and do notes. I think the draft that's going to be issue 5 is 6 or 7 from when we first started it for that first issue. You think so?
Oh, you mean the draft of the first issue?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's 4 drafts.
I feel like it was so much more.
No, it's 4.
But you do multiple drafts like anything else. I like writing stuff down. Like I have a physical planner. It doesn't always.
A day planner?
I do have a day planner. It doesn't always help me because sometimes I forget at places, and I'm like, I don't know. I'll tell you later if I can do that or not. But I know Jason's a big like digital calendar guy.
Yeah, I have to put everything in a Google Calendar, or else I would miss stuff. My big thing is there's a great app called Trello. It's like
heard of that
Trello, and it's a free website. You can pay for like the more expensive one, but you can do it for free. And you just log into their website. You can log in with your Google account, and you can create these little like note cards, and the note cards become to-do lists. But they'll let you do this thing, and I just created like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and you can switch the note cards back and forth. You can
Sweet.
color code them. I also find it's helpful for scripts because I'll go in there and create a Trello like for a script, and I can like plot out the acts with these note cards digitally. But again, like I'm a big believer on the reason I used to do the paper thing, but I don't do the paper thing anymore because like I've been in so many situations where I'm out and about, and it's like, man, it'd be really nice if I could just like, plot out the next little part of this story. Oh, it's right here on my phone because of Trello. Whereas like if I left my notebook at home.
Notes are also a big help.
Yeah. So
because I don't carry my laptop everywhere because I'm not strong.
Yeah, but for me, it's between Trello and Google Calendar because I'll put stuff on Google Calendar just so Google will email me. Like I'll be like, go fill out this form. Like I'll put it into Google Calendar just so Google will be like, hey, you need to do this. And I'm like, nah, I'll ignore it. And then I'll check my email and it's there too. And I'm like, crap. Okay, I need to do this.
It is a lot of stuff too where it's like, oh, I'm going to go do this thing. And then you're telling the other person, it's like, I don't ever remember you telling me that. but we talked about it. Okay, well, I'm still going to go do it now.
It's one thing I like to talk about with other creatives because for myself, I'm a graphic designer / project manager where I work, and so like being both left and right, brain, or using those parts of my brain at the same time, it's like not everybody can do that. But
not everyone wants to do it, but sometimes we have to.
Yeah, exactly. So each time we interview like other creatives, I always want to get into like the nuts and bolts of their daily routines. That way, you can help other people, in the future as well.
You got to talk about it, man, because like I hate all the business side of it. I didn't go to business school for a reason. Like I went to theater school, and as we were planning the Kickstarter, Jason's like, we have to think about this, and we have to be business people, or it's never going to work.
Yeah, it's interesting. Ashley's more in terms of like us working together and planning these projects. Ashley's more of like leave it up in the air, and I'm like, no, we have to make a schedule. We have to do this because I'm one of those people that, for me, I need that schedule because if we make that schedule, we make that thing, I will follow it. But if we don't, I'll just keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm like, no, we got to put dates down on paper.
That's awesome. There's this guy that I follow. His name is Ramit Sethi. He's friends with, I don't know if you know who Chase Jarvis is. Yeah, he's friends with Chase Jarvis. And like he wrote this book called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. And his big thing is, you show me a person's bank account and their calendar, and I can tell you a lot about them.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I wouldn't want to look at that comparison in December.
I guess we'll circle back around and see what you guys are what other projects you have in the future. But I guess we'll go into something that we're going to start calling the Thunder Round.
Ooh.
So it's pretty much, off the beaten path questions.
Okay, sure.
So,
let's do it.
All right. I know both of you are well known for the Red Shirt Diaries.
Yes.
Are we well known for that?
We are at Star Trek conventions.
Okay, good.
People love us there.
I love that series. So cool.
Although, which non-Red Shirt character's diary from the Star Trek universe would you want to actually read, and why?
What I want to read?
Say that again for me, sorry?
Which non-Red Shirt character in Star Trek, whose diary would you want to read, and why?
Oh, God. Okay, sorry. Diary. That's all right.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Julian Bashir is like one of my favorite Star Trek characters of all time, and I think he would have like a really interesting, self-indulgent, like silly diary. So I'd be up for that, or any of the Cardassians because I just think they're so cool. Like Garrick would have an amazing diary.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a tough question. I'm thinking about this.
I know. I'm going all Deep Space Nine because it's my favorite series.
Man. It's weird because I think there's certain characters like Spock's diary would be boring.
It would be any Vulcan diary.
It'd be so
Tuvok
boring.
Would be boring. T'Pol would be boring.
Kirk doesn't write a diary.
No, he ain't got time for that.
Kirk does not write a diary. I don't believe it.
He only does the minimum amount of logs he is required to, and maybe even a couple less than that.
Picard's diary would be boring. Geordi's would be boring. Riker's would just be all about the women he sleeps
It'd be his
with.
black book, yeah.
I mean, I honestly think the most interesting, I'm going to go Deep Space Nine too. I think it would be, you know what? You know whose diary would be the most interesting? Jonathan Archer's.
The first?
Because I think he
Trip would have a good one too.
He would give this, who wrote The Grapes of Wrath? Help me out here.
John Steinbeck.
Yeah, he would give it such a Steinbeck, like he would put this like adventure tone on top of his logs, I think, and he would write them very like heroically and we went to this planet and we did the thing, we found this log.
And I took Porthos with me.
And I saw the vista and it was so beautiful because I'd never seen a vista so purple. Like he would write it that way and I think you'd be like, wow, I'm never going to be as cool as this guy.
And then he would sell it to Hollywood and make a movie.
Yeah. So Jonathan Archer, there you go.
That's a good answer.
That was awesome. In your recent Geek History Lesson podcast episode about Kid Flash, Wally West, you talk about how he won the lottery.
He did.
$6.5 million. What would you guys do with $6.5 million?
Buy a house. Oh, man. Make all the comics. That's what we would do.
I'd buy a car for my mom.
Oh.
First thing.
Yeah?
First thing. No doubt. Because my mom
Would you buy her a Prius?
I don't know what I'd buy her. I'd buy her whatever she wants. I'd be like, "What's the car you want?
$6 million?
What's the car you want? You could be as a little self-indulgent." My mom is one of those people that she always filled out the publisher clearinghouse, even though I told her she was crazy for that. And so like that would be number one. But
that'd be nice.
yeah, I don't. I think it's weird. Like, 'cause don't most people's answers with that? They would be like, oh, I'm gonna buy the house. Like with us, it's like, yeah, I want to buy a house, buy a car. Like, I want to be stable.
I posted something pretty recently where it was like, what do you want for Christmas? And I was like, a house, a 401k, a new car. Like, I have really like old people aspirations now.
Yeah, it's I guess a stability. It's
for
what we would buy.
$6 million, though, we could probably buy like a small house in LA.
But I also tell you, like, with $6 million, we would fund a movie.
Oh yeah,
Like because we've talked about it a lot of time, but like it's one of those things we've never done.
And we
because
get Bear McCreary and Rupert Graves. It'd be great.
yeah, we take $1 million and go make a movie,
Yeah.
like something like Split.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Do you have any
$6 million.
movies in the works or ideas?
Like pipe dream ideas.
We have pipe dreams ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have a couple screenplays that are sitting on a hard drive. We have a couple documentary ideas that I would love to do.
Those are more realistic because you can just do documentaries with a much smaller budget.
Just filming interviews and stuff like that. It's just it's a case of like finding the right time to do it and then also finding the funding. Because it's one of those things that. The interesting thing about like where we are in our career is that like the point we're at in our career is that there's very few things that we can do out of our own pocket anymore because like we've stepped up the stairs now. So it's like, well, if we're gonna make the documentary, we want it to be on Netflix, so you got to pay people for that.
Right, like surprise, surprise, we don't have $1 million to drop on a movie. Although I think sometimes people think we do, which is adorable.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Okay, it's 2 a.m. at a karaoke joint. You get to have the last song. What do you sing and why did you pick that
I don't
particular
sing.
song?
I go with my standard Afternoon Delight because I can kill at it, and it's a happy song.
I sing an Aladdin song very poorly is what I do. And then I'm like, I've done my song, I'm done, goodbye forever.
Remember that Twilight Zone episode where it's called Time Enough at Last with Burgess Meredith? And he...
I don't know if I've seen that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, anyway, in the episode, he all he wants to do is be alone and blah,
Is that the one where he wants to read the books?
Yeah, read the books.
Okay,
Oh,
I have seen that one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, my question is, obviously something tragic happens, and he ends up being like the last person alive after being locked up in the bank after a nuclear war, and pretty much he ends up having all the time in the world to read as many books as he wants, but he ends up breaking his eyeglasses, and he can't read anything anymore.
You just get really close to the page and squint.
Yeah.
I'm acting it out for no one to see.
So my question is, like, if that were to happen to you, what would be the last book that you would want to have read before your glasses broke? You couldn't read anything anymore.
Oh, that's a good question. I'm going to say...
Can I guess your answer?
Yes.
It's a Carmen Sandiego Choose Your Own Adventure book.
Why? Where's Waldo? Waldo's not in every book.
I love that game when I was a kid.
I loved it when I was a kid too.
No, I'd probably pick something really long. Like, I'd probably go like Return of the King because it's epic and there's a lot to think about and it's going to take me like a whole year to read it if I pace it out just right. I just feel like I could have a good time with that. I don't know. Something Jeffrey Eugenides is a little bit uplifting.
Oh, mine is easy. Mine's my favorite book of all time, and it's The Complete Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. All 5 books.
That's cheating because that's 5 books.
But the way I first read that was in one giant book.
It's cheating.
It's like 1,000 book. I don't care. I follow Captain Kirk's rule. Cheating is winning.
That's awesome. I think my book would probably be Old Man in the Sea, maybe.
That's a good one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very classic Americana.
Yeah.
All right, next question's if you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be, and where would you eat at?
That's tough.
These are some heady questions, but I love them, man.
I know. These are like not questions we normally get asked. This is very exciting. I mean, topically, I guess I'd probably say John Hurt, but
Rest in peace.
yeah, man. I
Where
was
would you
bummed
take
about
John
that.
Hurt? I want to hear this. Arby's?
I would. I've never eaten at an Arby's. No, I feel like I'd have to take John Hurt to like a proper like English tea house.
Okay.
You know, like in the English countryside, on Patrick Stewart's estate, surrounded by flowers. Like, you know, very, very like lovely and clean. Because he's a knight, so you got to treat the man right.
You know, I want to say an answer I've never said to this question before, but I just thought of this right now. I'm going to say Christopher Reeve. Because everything I've read about Christopher Reeve is that he was a genuinely nice dude. And he was one of these people that I've always heard described that he made you feel like the most important person in the room every time he talked to you, which is why a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, you're Superman. So I'm going to say Christopher Reeve because I would love to just like talk to him about life and theater and acting.
You want Christopher Reeve pre-accident?
I mean, sure. I mean, I don't know.
I just think it's a different answer.
I don't know the metaphysical rules to this.
Sure. But I mean, you want like Superman era.
I want him
Reeve.
in his Superman tights.
He'd be so tall and so hot. It would be great. He's a beautiful man.
He could break me. Yeah, it's fine. And you know what? I think Christopher Reeve is an all right dude. So we'll just find the local bar with a good hamburger.
I'd believe that.
Yeah,
you could have a beer with him.
I think he would have a beer with you. So
yeah, it's a good answer.
It's when you mentioned bar. I'm thinking of the scene in Quest for Peace when he's in the bar.
Oh yeah.
He wouldn't be like that.
This is probably the most important question
Oh man.
in light of the election that we just had.
Oh man.
And if you're the newly elected president of the United States, what artwork would you hang up in the White House?
If I'm the newly elected president of the United States, then there's been quite a policy shift in who's allowed to run because I was not born in this country.
She's not an American citizen.
I would take that. I would open up all immigration. It would be great. I would hang up a Rothko red painting because he is one of my favorite artists of all time, and his red paintings are like really well known and very expensive. And then I would also hang up like legit a Tim Sale from Dark Victory Robin piece.
Nice.
To be like, that's the legacy. Like, you have to live up to all the people who came before you. You have to be Batman. What about you?
I would go get some Roy Lichtenstein, some pop art in there. I'd throw some of that in there. I would force the Smithsonian to give me their copy of Action Comics #1.
Just take the one from DC.
Yeah, that's coming to the White House, and that's going to be in the Oval Office over the mantle. And then I think my third piece wouldn't be it's not going to be a piece of art. It's going to be a.
You're gonna take the MASH tent, aren't you?
No, I'm going to do a picture. I'm going to say like NASA gave me a picture from the Hubble telescope.
Oh, nice.
Like of a galaxy or something like that, and let's blow it up.
That's cool. This is very American. I like
Yep.
that.
It's funny you mention Hubble because I listen to a lot of audiobooks because I go for a lot of walks and stuff. And I don't know if you're familiar with the astronaut Mike Massimino.
The name sounds familiar, but I can't place
Well,
it.
he just has a book out called Spaceman, I believe.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Listen or read, depending on how, if you listen to it or read it.
Well, it's always that theory, like, and this may be getting like too far off into the weeds, but I've always heard the thing of like astronauts talk about that when you see the Earth as like this blue orb in space, you like really get a different perspective about it. Like you kind of like, and they've done studies on this where they found out that like astronauts when they return to Earth are kind of like they lose their nationalism.
They're very like peaceful.
Yeah, and they become very zen and they become very peaceful, and they're all like, it doesn't matter like what country's the winner, like we're all together. Really. And you're just like, oh, what an interesting perspective. Like, wouldn't it be cool if every human could see that experience?
I don't want to go to space though. Space will kill you. That's what movies have taught me. F space.
but he did a few missions to Hubble, so it's kind of interesting.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I
know what Jason's going to be reading next.
Yeah, that's right. Spaceman? All right, I'm putting it down.
It's pretty cool. And he's friends with Neil deGrasse Tyson also.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I guess, what's one thing that your fans would be surprised to know about you?
I cry at everything. That's a true and scientific fact. And I say that to some people and they don't believe me. Like, I cry at all kinds of movies. I cried at Star Trek Into Darkness and Man of Steel and Pacific Rim. Like, if I'm not between a 2 and a 7 on the emotional scale, like too happy, too sad, I'm probably crying. Sometimes, like, I watch videos on Facebook of, like, soldiers being reunited with their dogs, and I'm like, I can't even. It's so sad. And I own a lot of stuffed animals, like, a lot of stuffed animals. I have like a whole warren of foxes in my home. So I think people would be surprised to know that.
I think I'd be more surprised to find out that I had fans. But that's cool.
You have like that one guy who really likes you on Twitter.
Hey, I like him back. He's cool. He's a good guy. I think most people would be surprised to find out that I'm a carpenter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's furniture in our home that I have built,
That's
like
true.
tables and end tables and stuff. It's just something I learned in college, and
The only reason we can have sets is because Jason knows how to build them.
yeah, I built the red shirt set, like the second season set that we had that had full walls.
I mean,
like
you
that.
built the first one too.
Yeah, but the first one wasn't made out of wood and stuff. So there you go. Yeah, I learned. I worked for a scenic theater company in college, and I just picked up a lot of skills and stuff like that. And it'd be something that I would do if I had a garage. Like, I just don't have a space to do it, like where I live right now. If I had a garage to do it, like I'd build like we would never buy a piece of furniture. I'd just be like, no, let me go to the lumber store. I'll build it.
I made a comment once where I was like, I think it's so weird that they always brand power tools as like a thing to give to a man for Christmas. I was like, who wants a power tool for Christmas? Like, who cares? And Jason was like, that's a great gift. You should
Yeah.
give people power tools for Christmas.
I was like, I'll take a circular saw. Give me. So yeah, I think people would be very surprised to learn that with me being so nerdy.
Yeah.
I guess it's sort of flash forward a little bit into the future. What kind of projects do you have in the pipeline?
We have like two, like they're not like super secret comic projects, but they haven't been announced yet that are like in development that will be starting this year.
Yeah,
But it's like not our job to disclose
say
them.
what they are. Yeah.
They're both really cool, so look out for those. I don't know if I have like anything to talk about as far as future projects. We're gonna make Jupiter Jet.
Yeah. In terms of future projects, there's a prose book that I hope I can, maybe saying this on the podcast will hold me to it. There's a prose book that I've been working on for a long time that hopefully maybe I can knock out before the end of the year.
We have one that we're co-writing as well. That's like a little more. It's lighter and it's poppier.
Yeah. There's that one too, but this one's more like will tie into the anniversary of Superman next year. So I'm kind of hoping I can maybe like get off my butt and do it, and maybe your listeners will hold me to it. But it's an idea I've had for like a long time, and I missed the 75th anniversary and stuff like that. And I think it'd be really cool. So that's like a goal. But other than that, yeah,
I mean,
like
we each have individually. We have stories coming out in the Not Forgotten anthology. If that's successful, that's public domain superheroes. I have a story that'll be coming out in Colonial Comics Volume 2, which is mostly an educational piece. But yeah, all the stuff we're working on is like very nebulous right now.
yeah, right. A lot of our stuff is all in Jupiter shit. It's weird.
Yeah,
you know?
it's like
we can't see the forest for the trees right now.
Yeah, like we're coming up on the 150th episode of
Geek History
Lesson, so we're gonna do a special episode for that.
You can drop that. Give it to him.
We're exclusive. We're talking about Jason Todd. Yay! For 150, because we wanted to do a character that.
For our anniversaries, we like to do characters
special.
that we like.
Okay.
And he's a character I've wanted to teach for a long time. I've never taught one of the anniversary editions before, so.
Yeah, and the 50th was my pick. I was like, we should do Lois Lane.
Lois Lane.
Then we got to a 100th episode. We did West Coast Avengers because that's a recurring gag with Geek History Lesson if you listen to it. And then we were coming up on 150, and I told Ashley, I was like, well, this is one that you should do. Who's a character that you would just love to teach that could kind of be evergreen no matter what?
I thought I think he's the first person I said to. I was like, I should probably do Jason Todd.
Yeah.
Because we've done Tim and we've done Dick.
Yes.
So we're just moving our way through the Robins.
Nice.
Yeah. We've done a lot of the Bat family. It's interesting. Yeah, we haven't touched Jason Todd.
Batman's a big family. So, but he's gonna be cool because we won't just have to say, and here you can go and listen to the Teen Titans episode because he ran around with Teen Titans for like 40 years.
Wow, that's cool.
Thanks.
I guess we can bring back the conversation back to Jupiter Jet. Going forward, what's the next step? I mean, what's in terms of like after the Kickstarter and how long it'll take for the issues to come out?
Then we print a bunch of postcards and we write those. So the way right now we're just starting issue 2 because issue 1 was in the bag. So we have a rolling production schedule right now, which means that we should complete all 5 around July or August.
Right by Comic-Con.
We are planning to have in a presence and some Jupiter Jet stuff for San Diego and New York Comic-Con.
Yeah, we're hoping at San Diego Comic-Con and New York Comic-Con this year that if you want, you can't wait on our fulfillment for the Kickstarter, that you could come by and get some exclusive Jupiter Jet issues.
Yeah, we'll definitely rep that for sure.
Which would be cool. And then assuming everything, nothing changes between now and then, which it definitely can, because it turns out making creative stuff is a crazy process and involves a lot of people. Where it's going to launch in the fall, which is very exciting with the trade.
And we don't know an exact day yet because we have to.
We don't even have to solicit that for quite a while.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah, you have to solicit with Diamond and solicit with Action Lab. But yeah, fall 2017 is when issue 1 should come out. Hopefully, we'll get a couple more issues out before 2017. But yeah, and then the people who come to the Kickstarter and because we're giving the trade away. You're basically pre-ordering the trade right now if you come to the Kickstarter, which I think is cool because you're going to get it
with some cool prints that will never be available anywhere else.
And so that'll be like February, March of next year because we're going to hold the trade for our backers until all the issues come out in comic book stores.
Okay.
So
cool.
But yeah, so the next thing is making the comic.
Yeah.
And reward fulfillment kind of simultaneously because a lot of it is waiting until the trade comes out and sending everything out in a big package. But there is some stuff we can do before then.
Yeah.
So.
What's your guys' con schedule look like this year?
Right now, none of it is laid down because nobody's pro-reg is open right now. We always hit WonderCon, San Diego, New York, and Kamikaze.
Or LA Comic Con now.
Or, I'm sorry, yeah.
We always hit those
Los
4.
Angeles convention. And then maybe Long Beach in the fall. I know we're not doing Long Beach coming up in February.
We might do Long Beach in February if we
But
get
we're not
bored.
tabling or anything.
Yeah, we're not going to table. If we get a Long Beach in February, we'll just go there for fun.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to. I really want to go to Planet Comic Con in Kansas City because that's the convention in my home state.
That'd be awesome.
They won't email us back.
Yeah.
So if anyone works
I'm throwing
there
the gauntlet down on your podcast.
There.
I've been trying to get a hold of them and be like, hey, I want to come to your con, but nobody's gotten back to me. So it's one of those things. We were at Phoenix Comic Con in Arizona last year. I had a lot of blast.
Phoenix is a great.
I've heard good things about it.
It's a great convention, and especially I know you guys are San Diego-ish based. It's a perfect drive. It's a great con to drive to. It's a blast. I like that con a lot. So hopefully I get to go back there again. And then right now, fingers crossed, we will probably be at Superman Celebration this year in Metropolis, Illinois.
Ooh.
If everything works out, we'll be there. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We look forward to seeing you guys there.
Oh my God! I hope so. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah. I've been wanting to go for several years. So
yeah, and we would talk to them last year, but we couldn't make the Stars Alliance. We're really hoping. Also because it'll give me an excuse to go visit Kentucky.
When is that one going to be?
that's Superman Celebration is always like the first or second week of June.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You can go to their awesome website. I don't know what
It's
it is off the top
always
of my
in
head.
June because that's when Action Comics #1 came out.
Oh, there you go. You're smarter than me. I was like, it's in the summer, whatever.
Yep.
Is there anything else that we missed that you'd want our audience to know about?
There's nothing huge that we want to miss, but it's like one of those things that if you like anything that we talked about on here, I mean, we do our weekly podcast, Geek History Lesson, which you can find at geekhistorylesson.com. It's on iTunes or whatever. And it's one of the things that we have the most fun doing because it's learning about a character. We every week I learn something about a character that I didn't know about, which is a great thing. And so I hope that comes across in the podcast, and we have fun doing
definitely.
it.
And
Sweet.
I do just want to say really quick about the Kickstarter campaign. It was important to us because we went from being fans to creators to pass that on. So you can get a lot of really cool things from professionals that we know and tricked into helping us. Like you can get script reviews from Josh Fialkov and
Mark Andreyko?
Orson and Mark Andreyko, I think, are the ones that are still up. And there is one slot left to get an art portfolio review by Mitch Gerrits. So if it's something
Batman artist, Mitch Gerrits.
So if you wanna, if you want to be in comics, they're great people. They're people who mentored us. Josh Fialkov was one of the first people to ever give us script notes.
Yep.
So we know that they're good guys, and we would really encourage you to, consider talking to them as well. But yeah, so JupiterJetComic.com is where you can find all that.
Yeah, check it out, folks. It's pretty cool that you guys are going to be able to see something amazing. I can't wait to see it myself.
Oh, thank you.
Hopefully it lives up to your expectations.
Well, I mean, just your guys is like just positive energy, and just even just spending time with you guys here today on this podcast. I mean, I can't wait to see it and support you guys.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
No, it has to be good.
Well, that's a big thing too. Like Jupiter Jet it's a positive comic. Like there's a couple like dark moments in it, but like in any story, but like it is all about like doing what you can do, making it what you can make it,
Taking care of your neighborhood and the people who
taking care of your neighborhood and stuff like
mean
that.
something to you.
And that's a big thing that like I hope as well. Like even when we try to review something, we try not to like completely just be like, oh, this is terrible. Like we also want to give you the positives as well, because like there's enough hate and negativity in the world. Come on.
Yeah, we also never want to say like I don't like this, so you can't like it either. Like if
Yeah.
people like stuff we don't, that's also
It's
awesome.
fine. Everybody has opinions.
But everyone better like Jupiter Jet.
That's the absolute.
That's where I draw the line in the sand. You have to like my comic.
We can find you on Geek History Lesson. We can also check out your Kickstarter for Jupiter Jet at jupiterjetcomic.com.
It's true.
Where else can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Ashley V Robinson. You can tweet me cute animal pictures there. You can find me every other week as a panelist on Collider Heroes and all over Jason's YouTube channel that I'll let him talk about.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter at Jawin, Jawin. It's the first two letters of all three of my names. I tweet lots of interesting things, including I'm doing this thing where I'm going to show a panel from every issue of Action Comics. It may take me 10 years to get through it.
That'll be so awesome.
But I'm going to do it. I'm so far up to like issue 7. So it's pretty cool. And then you can find me every weekday on DC All Access on the DC Entertainment YouTube channel.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being on the Hall 8 show. And hopefully,
Well, thank you for coming to my bedroom. I think this is lovely. The ambiance is lovely here.
Yeah, but this mirror, I don't know about
Yeah,
it.
I gotta say, like, I like this. I like the atmosphere of this podcast. It was very like fireside chat. I really dug it.
Well, we got to do it again sometime. Again.
Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely.
All right. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Hall 8 show. We appreciate you very much. And if you have any comments or recommendations for potential guests, please reach out to us on social media using the hashtag HallHShow. Peace, cheers, and see you next time. And please support independent comic book creators out there like Ashley and Jason, the creators of Jupiter Jet.